Okay, it seems like we are in business. Allow me to adjust the music a little bit. Not sure how well you guys are hearing this, but we'll see. Alrighty. Let's tab out so that I don't have to look at my own stream. There we go. Alrighty, this is Random Access Mayhem. Thanks to the all-powerful, almighty Nikola Tesla fanboy Andrew Cunningham and his YouTube channel, I found this lovely little game and have been playing it for a couple months. And so, hey, I got a new PC setup. Figured might as well try my hand streaming at least once. So, here we go. Alrighty. Premise of the game, for those of you who are uninitiated, I'm not doing the tutorial because I accidentally already did it in setup, is you're playing this funny little computer guy, and your job is to gain that number in the top left corner as high as physically possible. And the only way to do that is with excessive violence. And so, the main gimmick of the game is that you're just trying to jump between robots as soon as they start to lose health and die, and make your way throughout the entire arena until everything's dead. See, I'm not sure, this move speed feels a little sluggish. It might just be I'm running on a much larger screen. Hard to say. I mean, everything seems to be running pretty smoothly, but we'll figure it out as we go along. Should probably pause real fast to bring up just so I can, in the off chance somebody gets into the chat, I can at least look at it and see what's going on. Okay. I'm currently playing on controller, which I just find way more comfortable. It was a bit of a pain to set up on this new system. I'm not sure what happened, but on my old laptop, the controller worked fine. However, with this new setup that I have, like, my Pro controller just, like, freaked out and was inputting, like, every single input, like, every nanosecond. So I had to switch from the wired to the wireless in order to get it to work. I'm not really sure why that works, but it does. But, you know, each of the four robots you control have different movesets. This guy is a deadlift. He plays paddleball with the enemies, which is so much fun. Like, this game just has so much amazing design in terms of making each robot both simple to control, but have so many unique interactions, both with enemies in the macro as well as sort of like specific interactions. Like, the deadlift's punch can reflect projectiles, and basically anything in the game that is not an enemy, it counts as a projectile. Even some enemies count as projectiles under the right circumstances. And so, I think, with the exception of the Aphid, which is the flamethrower guy that I just blew up with a brick, everyone has the capability to deflect projectiles. This particular little buddy is called the Router, and he throws little grenades that just have the most amazing sound design. Really makes it feel like you're throwing a brick at somebody's head. But the explosion, oh, you just saw that. The explosion of the bomb actually causes projectiles to deflect, so you can get some really crazy combos under exceptional circumstances. And then let's see some other things about the game. The right side of the bar on the bottom right, is just the end of the robot health, which will, you know, kind of gyrate up and down. You switch between robots. And then the meter on the bottom left is your swap juice, which you use to jump between robots. And so there's a lot of like tiny little systems that are in play to encourage you to make swaps aggressively rather than just waiting for your robot to die. Probably go along with them as they sort of appear, but one of the bigger ones is there are certain trick shots that you can do that involve swapping that if you pull them off successfully, they refund a good portion of the swap bar. So the idea is to encourage people to, you know, sort of like throw a bomb and then swap into somebody else as that bomb goes off. Or in that case, I swapped to a robot as right before they died to get a close call. Ooh, flow state. And then, like any good roguelike, this game has a little upgrade system where you can upgrade, you know, different aspects of each bot in sort of a random selection. A lot of them are pretty neat. Some are just basic kind of number go upper stuff, but for the most part, I think there's a lot of interesting variety and different kind of builds you can end up making. But if I recall correctly, all of the maps are sort of like hand built, but they're just put in a random order. And, you know, not every run is going to contain every single map of a given level. This demo only has the first level available, which is this sort of mountain mine shaft, I think? I'm not entirely sure. But it's got fire vents, you know, like any good factory has. You know, I just love walking around and having to step over, you know, char-broiling flames to get to work. You know, it's just budgetary cuts. You know, couldn't separate the fire from the rest of the facility. Oh, we didn't pay for heating this month, but you know, the flame vents, we got to keep those funded. So, you know, if you're ever a little cold, just stand right next to one and hope it doesn't, you know, get a burst of fuel all of a sudden. Speaking of burst of fuel, the Aphid is the last guy I've yet to swap into them. They shoot flamethrowers. Bottom right, there's also, you can see, all of the robots have sort of their primary and their secondary as little icons in the bottom right, but the Aphid is important. He's kind of the only one that you really have to keep track of, because if that little fire symbol ever gets all the way, it goes yellow all the way, then the Aphid just starts to self-destruct from overheating. So you kind of have to sort of take like little spurts of fire. However, like the longer you hold it down, the more pressure gets built up, so the further the flames reach. Like it's a really it's probably one of the first flamethrowers I've seen in a video game that actually like is dynamic. Like most of the time flamethrowers are just like, oh, they do a lot of damage but they're really short ranged, and so that's just kind of the trade-off. But this one has this like fun little back and forth of you can get a really long-range flamethrower, and it's awesome, but... Oh, I forgot about... Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the other fun little thing about the Aphid is one of the upgrades that I picked up is called aerated fuel tanks, which basically just turns them into a giant nuclear explosion upon death. So I just completely forgot that I had that on, and when I swapped to a close enemy, they just almost immediately blew up. I remember the good old days when Kamikaze did a ton of, gave you a ton of points, and it was super busted because, or no, I think it was something like Kamikaze and Postmortem stacked the trick shots, so you could just build up a ton of points by just doing a bit of a funny word that I'm not sure. I know nothing about Twitch terms of service, so no idea if I can even say it out loud. But yeah, I think everyone kind of gets the picture. That was a viable strategy in earlier builds of the demo, to just run in and blow yourself up in a violent explosion. Oh hey, it's the guy. Whoa, 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 give me a sec, buddy. I haven't decided if I want to die today yet. Okay, I made up my mind. The answer is no. Definitely don't want to die. Not right now. Come back in a week, maybe? We can work out an arrangement. I honestly might not mind by then. I'll help you set up a trick shot or something. Come on. Just consider it. Wait, you're actually not killing me? I always thought you guys were just supposed to blast everything, and I'm so glad you came around, buddy. Really. Download whatever you want. No trouble at all. Oh, I'm blocking the UI. I'll just be over here. Yeah, there is a story to this game, allegedly. Ooh, bulk delivery. I am too much enraptured by all of the pretty lights and the funny colors to really pay that much attention. And also, there isn't truly that much dialogue in the game yet, so I'm not going to be theorizing about the potential lore implications of our little suicidal shopkeep until we get some more capital C content. But yeah, another, like, sort of circling back to kind of the fun interactions that the different bots have with each other. Aphids are immune to taking, like, damage from fire, but as they get lit on fire, they begin to overheat. And so you can kind of force other aphids to self-destruct just by spewing them with flames. Although, if you give them time to cool back down, then you essentially just done nothing to them. The other fun thing that you can do with the aphid is if you pull out the tar spigot and then press flames at the same time, you automatically bypass the overheat and start to self-destruct, which is, you know, helps with the kamikaze. But I'd probably say in terms of, like, just my favorite bots to control, I really like Router and Deadlift when you get a lot of upgrades for them. But just kind of starting out base, I'm always a sucker for a good shotgun. And Steel Toe definitely has a pretty good shotgun. Ooh, spin control. Not really getting a whole lot of upgrades for Deadlift or Steel Toe, but I'm getting good upgrades. Probably need to be taking better advantage of them, but, you know. Sometimes you just want to point and shoot at with a gun instead of, you know, chucking grenades or spewing fire. I'm also really bad at timing. There's a perfect... There we go. If you... the Steel Toe secondary is kind of this, you know, EMP blast, or I suppose sound wave blast. It's kind of used as sort of a melee. But if you fire at a certain time frame within the melee, your projectiles will shoot out at a really fast speed and do more damage. However, there's like a bad timing and a good timing to it. The bad timing causes your bullets to scatter more, and the good timing causes them to bunch up in sort of like a clump. So that the green pellets are bad timing, and then the dark blue pellets are good timing. Ooh, Whiplash. There we go, that's a good upgrade. Also, I have reload coroutine, so I can just hold down the fire button. Is this the room with more blockers? The blockers are definitely like a solid little... Yep, the jammers. They're a solid little mechanic, but I feel like the flashing red lights just causes... like, all the projectiles in this game, except for yours, are red. So causing flashing red lights, it just kind of makes it harder to see... makes it a little bit harder to discern the projectiles and where just sort of everything is. So I don't know, maybe tone that down a little bit. Because, like, you have... there are HUD indicators kind of pointing you in the direction of the jammers, so I don't think you really need the flashing, you know, strobe lights the entire time. Maybe just for, like, the initial sort of, like, incoming jammers alert. Oh, yeah, but this big guy, he's got a shield on him that prevents me from swapping into him. But because he only shoots fire... I'm basically immune to his damage as long as I don't overheat. Come on, guy. Almost got you. There you go. Alrighty, let's see. Ooh, careful packaging. Oh, didn't mean to switch over to this guy. One of the downsides of playing on controller is you, like, it's just a little, it's a lot harder to swap into very specific enemies. You kind of just have to pick a direction and hope there's nobody nearby. Because if there's a lot of enemies clumped up together and you're trying to switch into one specifically, then more than likely you're just going to swap into the wrong robot, and it feels bad, and it is bad. Let's see. I'll just go with this one. Oh, that's... Oh, you just love to hear the sound of bricks flying off of people's heads. Ah! If only I was better at aiming. This is why we go for bulk delivery, when you can't aim. But I really enjoy just how much they're able to pack into, because each robot really only has 2 buttons, their primary and their secondary. And so you're able to pack, but the devs are able to pack so much utility into just 2 little buttons. Like the deadlifts, for example, their primary is their punch, but not only can they charge it to do more damage, but when they start to paddle ball somebody with their grapple, which is their secondary, punching them causes them to go faster and faster. And then doing a charged attack with the punch causes them to be released and flung in whatever direction you are holding. So, like, there's just so much, like, little fun interactions to have with each robot. I'm really excited for the full release. I'm excited to play the other bots. Like, if each of them are as well designed as these 4, then having 8 dudes to control will be, like, crazy. Because there's going to be so many small little interactions or ways to kind of maximize... Oh, there we go. That's somebody new. The other thing that I failed to mention is that variety meter in the top left. Essentially, if you swap into the same bot over and over again, you get a penalty to your points. But if you're swapping into different bots all the time, then you keep your variety score up, which gives you more points. And then it decays slowly over time. Again, it's another... Like, I think the devs are very aware that, you know, players may be reluctant to switch up playstyles on the fly, but that's ultimately... Oh, shoot. Well, that's creative. I'd recommend swapping when your hosts die, but if that's not possible, then I suppose it's better than nothing. You've assembled what we call a minimal improvised transmission exoskeleton from your prior host's corpse. No wireless transmitter in that thing, though. You'll have to latch onto a physical port to salvage this. Press the attack button to lunge at enemies and take them over. So yes, that is the Might, which is a new addition, compared to older versions of the build, where if you died and there was no one you could swap into, your host would just kind of revive, and it'd just take a big chunk of your swap bar, which, oh, that was the worst. There was no feeling worse than dying without anybody to switch into. But that also kind of leads into the other, probably the thing that, I suppose it's kind of the biggest criticism that I have with it, though I'm not always the biggest fan of like, giving criticisms without a potential, like, solution. And I don't have one for this particular problem. Like, I don't know how they would try and address it, but it feels really bad when either there's no enemies on screen and you get killed from an off-screen attack, or as a result of you getting killed, your corpse gets pushed away from all the enemies, and as a consequence, you can't swap into anybody. Like, I would kill for the swap reticle to just travel, like, to scroll across the screen, rather than just being confined to whatever is on the screen. because I feel like that would at least provide a little bit more ability to salvage. Because a lot of the time, when you get forced into the might, it's not because you're out of enemies. It's because there's no enemies that are close enough. And, it's on one hand, you can just kind of say skill issue, get better. But on the other hand, I don't know. I think it just, there's just an element of unforgiving randomness to getting pushed away from your lifeline. And that's kind of out of your control, and you just gotta deal with it. Alright, big man. So the CPU, or the Colossal Pounding Unit, is the only boss of the demo. But he's a really cool boss. He's got, a laser beam. He can summon these little pillars that have enemies in them, which are kind of your saving grace, because if this dude didn't summon enemies, then you basically have no means of healing. And if you haven't figured out by now, the robots in this game don't have a ton of health, kind of by design. But the other cool thing, and I'm gonna try and show it off. He's kind of running out of health, so oh shoot. It's a little difficult to show off all the time, just because sometimes the enemies are not very cooperative. But if you wait for him to turn flash red like that and then charge, yep, there we go. That hit knocked out its swap inhibitor out. Quickly, jump in there and wreak some havoc before it comes back online. I hope this will be the case for all of the for all of the bosses, but you can swap into them and get back some of your swap juice by killing enemies or just intentionally letting the robots hurt you. They changed it up. Originally, the secondary summoned pillars, so I think so now it just, as soon as you swap in, all the pillars get summoned and you just Matador and the secondary becomes the charge. I don't know. It's alright. I think I kind of like the old one a little bit better, but I suppose I just haven't played it enough times. I kind of felt like I was not properly optimizing how to make the best time of the CPU. And then this is something that I think the build before this was able to kind of show these off in earnest, but this is a pretty recent addition. So I guess after every single level, you'll get a golem upgrade, which just kind of changes how you're able to swap, or, certain aspects of CPU. So the first one just restores health of robots you swap into, that sounds amazing. And then the other one, yeah, variety bonus persists after one repeat swap. So it essentially is, you don't get punished immediately for swapping into the same robot, but if you do it again, then it gets, you lose points, which is, oh, that's brutal. But yeah, the downside is that in the older demo, you're able to loop, and just keep playing the same level over again and keep your upgrades. I don't think that's the case for this demo now. They just kept it to one cycle, which, I don't know. I understand their reasoning. I think they mentioned in the Discord that they were simplifying it for the sake of a new Steam event. They were trying to get some new people's fresh blood onto the demo, so they wanted to make it a bit sort of a simpler experience. But I like the replayability that it provided, and I think, that's one of the biggest appeals of any good roguelike, is to just build up until you get a massive amount of upgrades, and, the game just keeps throwing more and more stuff at you until you eventually die. I kind of really enjoy that loop, even if it's not technically what the real game, what the full game is going to act like. I mean, I don't know what exactly the structure is going to be. They've shown trailers of the HUD of a hub world, so presumably there's going to be some place you go back to, maybe maybe before a run. I assume this is going to be based off of sort of like Hades, where there's a hub world where you can walk around and do activities, and then any given run, you're going from level to level to level to level, back to back to back until you reach the end. So, whatever. Oh me, oh my, it seems you've killed me. What a dreadful turn of fate. To think our first meeting would deign descend to dubious debauchery. Forthwith hitherto some such chess reference, chess reference, chess reference, chess reference. Sorry, I was entertaining myself. This is a simulation. I don't actually know what they'll say. Or if they'll say anything. Doesn't matter. Beating Indigo is good progress. So, I don't know... Is that implying that the CPU, the Colossal Pounding Unit, its name is Indigo? Or is Indigo, like, some kind of controller in the same way that this guy kind of seems to be, like, our handler? At this rate, our objective might be more foreseeable than I thought. I suppose for now, just keep doing this. Maybe if you get here again, I'll be inspired to rediscover my sudden interest in roleplay. Oh, hey, it's a new city, it's a new area. Man, I'm so excited to see what else this game has to offer me. Oh, what's that? A new enemy type? Let's just try and... Why can't I swap into them? I'll just shoot him, yeah. Seems very effective. Alright, yeah, joke's over. It's a cutscene. I presume I'm pretty sure this is one of the enemies that will eventually be a part of the full release. But as it is currently, they are just the means of killing you and ending the run. Well, I said it was a demo, right? I hope you weren't expecting a simulation of the entire world. I do have a day job, you know. This is as far as you can go for now. You'll have to content yourself with replay value, which unfortunately got a little butchered in this new demo. But nevertheless, now, if you'll excuse me, I need to talk to someone. Okay, I'm back. I've disabled the diegeses so we can talk freely. We, as in me and you, the player. None of this is canon, to be clear. I want to say thank you for playing the RAM demo, but that would be disingenuous. I don't actually care at all. The developers, though, assure me that they appreciate your support. On their behalf, I would recommend wishlisting the game on Steam if you enjoyed the demo. It really helps a lot. I'll resist boring you with any further solicitation, though. I'll see you on November 18th. Very cool. Alrighty. That was the main game, and it seems that in place of the replay value of the Eternal Loop, they've replaced it with a daily challenge run, which I haven't actually done yet. It seems interesting, but I'm also... I don't know. I liked... There was an older system that involved... selecting manually what type of restrictions you had on any given run. And I kind of like that system, especially just because of all the funny names that it kind of had for each given difficulty setting. But this definitely seems like to have a bit more sort of like naturally, sort of randomly generated variety, which I think can be appealing in and of itself. It's just kind of not my thing, but we'll give it a shot. You know, a good college try, as it were. So let's see. The active mods are less local juice and less global juice. Okay, so we can only make 1.5 swaps before dipping into global. And so our active upgrades are... okay. Cable management. So it looks like aphids and routers are eating good. And then steel toe and deadlift not so much. So, oh hey, we're starting with as an aphid. Very cool, very cool. Oh boy. I'm immediately feeling the downsides of the minus 25% local juice, because now I am out of local entirely. The penalty for swapping out of a dead host is that it costs 75% of the juice instead of 50%. So I've got to be a bit more careful. The nice thing about bulk delivery is that you can just oh, jeepers cripes. I think that was a deadlift grappling the big boy and just slamming him into me. You know, speaking of, you know, off-screen deaths. Get out of there. Let's see. Yeah. Alright. Okay, so I think are we stuck with these upgrades? Do we have the opportunity to get more of them? I mean, I think the point of the daily challenge is to kind of be like a point... What is it called? Point attack? Score attack? Or also, I guess there's the timer, it's also a time attack. So... I guess why they're not adding... Oh boy. No, that didn't... that was my maximum. I wasn't tapping into global with that. Okay, very cool. Yeah, the obvious reason why you don't want to mess with global is that you can't get global juice back. It's kind of your reserves. So, if you can go without having to dip into your global in order to make a swap, then you really need to. Because you definitely, if you die and have to go into your little mite form, then any damage you take after that will chew into your global. And I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think you just kind of slowly, your global slowly decays as you stay in your mite form for too long. I said that deadlift didn't have the best upgrades for this run, but it does have one of my favorite upgrades, even if they don't have very many, which allows you to just load another round into the chamber and double the amount of pellets that you fire in one shot. It takes twice as long to load, and you get indicated by, you know, the little radius increasing. Ooh, collateral. Ooh, we love a hot potato. Oh boy. Definitely messed up the timing on that reflect. The bass shot, the sound wave for the deadlifts also reflects projectiles, which makes if I was good at this game, it makes reflecting the grenades from routers really satisfying. But unfortunately, I am bad at this game, and cannot do it consistently. Hey, there we go. That's a nice, solid kill. Now, I gotta say, color commentary is a bit more tricky than I thought. I'm not sure if I don't have anything particularly exciting to say outside of just narrating gameplay here. But at the same time, there's not a whole lot much else to say about the game. I've kind of gone through the paces about all the little intricacies of the design. Man, how did Let's Players do it back in 2010? Like, in theory, if there was anybody watching live, I could at least, you know, sort of interact with an audience, but in this case, oh boy, that was a horrible decision. Completely forgot about my little kamikaze. Yeah, no, shout out to Let's Players, you know, the ones that are still around and kicking. The fact that they can keep an audience engaged by just recording their random-ass thoughts while playing a video game is a lot more impressive than I kind of give them credit for. Because, you know, obviously the trick is to make it kind of sound natural and conversational. But at the same time, it's like, oh, geez, what am I going to talk about? What I had for lunch? And it's like, okay, I had McDonald's, you know? That's a fun little trick. You know, like, you don't really think about it just because swapping has... Oh boy, I am out of swap juice. Completely and utterly. Okay, we're gonna be a little cheesy. Okay, well, no, that's not gonna work. The enemies are following me. I was going to try and just shoot from a distance, but that's not doing enough damage to justify... Okay, there we go. Alright. Let's try and build back up our local. Oh boy. Is there a rest floor? Do we have the opportunity to buy back some some global swap juice? Because if we find ourselves without a viable swap, then we are just straight up dead. But also, I guess you know, if we're trying to do a score attack, then spending points to just get a bit of extra swap juice isn't exactly ideal. Oh boy. Okay, yeah, we need to destroy these blockers. Oh, it's bouncing off of the walls. Oh no. Okay. Okay, you gotta be very careful about those electric grids, because they will just almost immediately kill the poor router. Routers have baby health. And, the robots... The enemy pathfinding is, Oh, that's the end. Okay. Very cool. 22. I wonder where that 22 comes from. Very cool, very cool. That reminds me, I should probably get, the Grey Guard is me. I should probably get a different Steam account for the new setup I got here, because this is, you know, big shocker. This isn't my main. I made this for the sake of, streaming. So I probably need to make a new Steam account. Or, I guess I just need to change my Steam nickname before getting on any given game, because otherwise I wouldn't have access to my game library if I made a new account. Oh well. But yeah, number 5 looks like only 6 people have played the daily challenge for today. So let's see, 27 is their score. I can do better than that. So, I do, you know, I'll give them credit on this one. I do kind of like the score attack. It's not, for a very long time, I thought score attack was just entirely not my thing. Like, I was very much sort of, like, play all the content that's available, but not necessarily, like, stick around to try and min-max every given level to get the highest number. Like, score was just never, like, I'm a platformer guy at heart, and so to me, success is beating the level and not, like, getting the highest score. Like, arcade games, you know, just never really my cup of tea. However, ever since I gained a crippling addiction to Pizza Tower, I found a newfound, there's a newfound respect. Oh, geez. That's a botched run. Well, I have a newfound respect for challenge runs and sort of score attacks. The unfortunate downside, though, is, as I just so aptly demonstrated, I have a tendency to just bail on a run if I think that it's not going my way. which isn't exactly the best mentality to approach to challenge runs. Because obviously, you know, if you screw up, then you can kind of salvage it and just sort of keep going. But I'm trying to go for the highest number possible, and if I, you know, am doing something that is antithetical to the highest number possible, then why am I still playing, you know? I just need to, better to just kind of give up and start over. Okay. Trying to make more cognizant use of the kamikaze, but swapping into a low health robot is a little tenuous, little stressful, but we manage. One thing as a router that you just like, whenever you play a router, aphids become your worst enemy because their oil slows you down to a crawl, man. I feel like even more so than the other robots, a router in oil just doesn't move at all. And because you're a tiny little guy that has baby health, that is a death sentence. As soon as you stop moving, you stop living. But we gotta keep schmoving. We're on a clock. We're on the clock here. The other scary thing, like, routers have some of the highest and scariest amount of damage output, but they get, like, hard countered by both aphids and deadlifts. Deadlifts, if they grab you, like the hardest thing about the router is, like, lining up a shot. And the thing about deadlifts is that if they grapple you, you can break their grapple by attacking them. But whereas aphids and steel toes can pretty easily just do a tiny bit of chip, routers are all or nothing, which means that, you know, once you get grappled by a deadlift as a router, you have, you know, 3 seconds to line up a direct hit. And if you can't manage one before that, you're getting reeled in, and you're getting punched in the face for all of your health. We love a good hot potato. I'm a fan of all types of potatoes, but usually the ones that are cooked or baked in some way are obviously superior to, I guess, a raw potato. A boiled, like, well, boiled potatoes are still hot, so yeah, no. The only types of potatoes that I believe are served cold would just be raw potato. I guess potato salad is kind of cold. Also not a fan of that. So yeah, hot potatoes are objectively better than cold potatoes. We love to see that. When you're in a tug-of-war with another deadlift and you just kind of build up a bit of momentum and they're like, okay, you want to hold on to this? Here, take it. And you just slam it right in their face. Deadlifts are definitely, like, just the most viscerally fun. They don't do good crowd control, which is a very big part of this game. So, you know, they're not the bots that I usually swap into all the time. But like I said, oh shoot. Well, that's bad. Got to be very careful. I have no swap juice, and I have no health. Okay, just a little bit more carnage, and I can... Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, yeah, the downside... One of the reasons why I don't find deadlifts to be super great is they're melee enemies. They're melee dudes, which means that aphids just absolutely eat your lunch. Because you're trying to pull them in to build up momentum, and then all they have to do is just, you know, douse you in flames, and your health just disappears. And so I had a tiny little sliver of health then. And all it took was one little puff of fire, and I was donezo. Fastest flamethrower in the West, baby. yeah, this I mean, there's a ton of tiny little details that I have yet to really, like, I'm aware of them now, but I'm not really at the stage where I can take advantage of them. Oh boy, and blockers, man, they suck. Why? I was thinking they're jammers. They're not blockers. I keep making that mistake. I've been watching way too much Magic the Gathering content, and so my brain just defaults to blockers now. Even though I've never played a single game of Magic in my life, but I keep watching people who play it, and it seems like a fun game. If I had, you know, a spare several $100s to get into the game, I might consider it, and also people to play it with, but it's you know, steep asking price to get into the hobby, kind of like Warhammer in that regard. I hopefully a bit cheaper than Warhammer. From what I've heard from some of my friends, that is kind of the ultimate, I have way too much money, or perhaps I have an obsession and therefore poor spending habits. Oh boy. Need to get rid of this. Oh boy. Yep, nope, that's a failed run. Yeah, no, that was just a crummy situation to be in. Low swap juice, blockers, so I couldn't get back. Low, yeah. I'm not sure how to feel about the jammers. I understand them as a means of, like, disincentivizing, like, or basically just encouraging you to go deal with them because they prevent you from gaining swap juice, but at the same time, the fact, like, because swapping is such a vital part of your health, having those things on basically just turns your, like, health, like, it's basically like if you walked into a room in a standard game and there was this aura that just cut your health down to, like, 1/4 of what it normally should be. Like, imagine if in like, a Doom Eternal map, there was a totem that just turned off glory kills. That would be brutal. And I feel like I would like blockers to perhaps, like, limit how much swap juice you get back on kill, and then, you know, obviously give 0 points for kills. But I feel like, just as, like, an emergency, you need to give players some amount of swap juice even when blockers are up. Because otherwise, there are just going to be situations like that where it's like, okay, I swapped into a deadlift, there are only aphids around me, and so I either try and punch the blocker with my fist, and the aphids will just swarm in on me and kill me, or I try and use the aphid to destroy the blockers, and then they start shooting, and they start just flaming me down while I'm punching them, and they kill me. Like, there's no, like, in that situation, it just felt like a Kobayashi Maru. And it's not a good feeling. Which, again, you know, it's ultimately countered by, like, well, you know, you just need to make sure that you bring a different, you know, robot into the blocker room, or, like, hey, dummy, stop switching into deadlifts. If there are aphids around, switch into the aphid. And so it's, you know, it's that give and take of, on one hand, there is definitely interaction that I could be using to better avoid those situations, but at the same time, it feels really bad to be stuck in that situation. I would rather be punished by inefficiency rather than just be subjected to a fail state. So I feel like a compromise of just lower swap juice gain on kill while jammers are up would be better than just completely negating swap juice gain. Where's the last guy? There. Sometimes the enemies are just like, oh, you're too far away. I'm just going to stay still. Which, I mean, honestly, I think that's probably for the best, because there are definitely some arenas that are so massive that if all the enemies pathfinded to you as soon as they spawned in, you'd be swarmed so quickly. But it also just kind of means there's some awkward lulls where it's like, where's the last dude? Wait, what? The door won't open up, so the killing has yet to cease. But I do not see any enemies nearby. We love a good deflection. Yeah, there's a ton that I just have come to really respect and appreciate about this game. Mostly just in that sense of, because I found the developer Andrew Cunningham through YouTube first, there's that kind of parasocial relationship of, like, I feel like I kind of know him on a more personal level than, like, just, oh, I'm a developer making this, game. And it's really, like, encouraging to see, this guy who's around my age, I think a little bit older than me, just kind of make this really awesome game, with just him and a buddy and some super talented artists who have made the soundtrack and the pixel art and whatnot. But as someone who is considering sticking my toe into game development, maybe just as probably primarily just as a hobby, if I do take that plunge. But it's guys like Andrew that really kind of light the fire underneath my ass of being like, hey, game development isn't just for people who are already amazing coders and know exactly what they're doing. They're for, dumb YouTubers who talk about Undertale way too much. And it's like, you know what? That's right. I am better than a dumb YouTuber who talks about Undertale way too much. I could probably make a game if I wanted to. If in the off chance Andrew is listening to this, much love. I love all your Undertale videos, and I wish I could make something as well produced and unhinged as talking about Gaster sightings in the Deltarune OST for an hour. Because it's not just that Andrew manages to keep to talk about the Deltarune soundtrack in relation to this random mystery character that no one knows anything about for 50 minutes. It's the fact that he's able to keep my attention with that. Like, it's such an absurd niche, like, hyper niche premise, and yet, at the same time, I've probably rewatched that video, like, 4 or 5 times now. So, who's the real loser, him or me? Hint, it's not him. But yeah, man, it's so funny, my relationship with Undertale and Deltarune, just kind of that entire community is, it's on one hand, it's like, I feel like I have no relation, that I'm truly just kind of like an outsider, but on the other hand, I have a weird amount of history with Undertale, but it's just not, like, the majority of that history doesn't involve me playing the game, either game at all. So essentially, way back in the day, I have a buddy, he just no longer does it, but he used to run a YouTube channel back when we were in middle school, so, you could kind of guess the quality of the stuff he was putting out. But nevertheless, he had a YouTube channel, and he was working on it, and I thought it was really cool. And, it was 2015, and Undertale had just come out, and everyone was talking about it. Everyone was talking about it. And so I was like, I looked it up, and I was like, it's kind of cheap. And so I just went up to him one day, and I was like, hey, here's $10. Go buy Undertale and play it for your channel. I just kind of want to see how you react to it. Because at that point, I had already, like, watched my favorite YouTubers talk and discuss it to death, and I got spoiled, you know, inside and out like most people did. But he played it. 25. I'm still not at 27. Dang. But he played it, and he, you know, gave it his sort of fair shake. And for whatever reason, whatever, you know, YouTube algorithm minor deity that he appeased, that somehow worked out for him. And he ended up getting a lot of traction, not on his actual playthrough of Undertale, but by reacting to fan content about Undertale, which is probably the bottom of the barrel in terms of YouTube content. I'm not going to lie. But nevertheless, he got a ton of views for doing that. Like, compared to his, you know, rink-dink little, you know, middle schooler channel, he got like tens of thousands of views on those reaction stuff. And he was able to, you know, monetize his channel and make a little chunk of change out of it. And so I just kind of sat on the sidelines and watched all of that happen. Like, I truly had no input on any of his decision making beyond just giving him the money to buy the game. And I just kind of watched, and it was just kind of like an indication to me of like, wow, the Undertale fans are truly ravenous creatures. Like, they're so content, like, starved and hungry to talk about this game that they'll give tens of thousands of views to a middle schooler, to doing reaction videos, to fan-made content. Absolutely wild. And, you know, for the longest time, that was kind of my opinion on Undertale and Deltarune, was it's just the game where the fans are absolutely livid, or rabid, more accurately. And they overhype this game and think that it's the greatest thing ever, when it's really just kind of like a mid indie game that has you know, highfalutin dialogue that attempts to deconstruct itself over and over and kind of loses the plot of like actually good gameplay. And of course, these were all opinions that I had before, without even playing the game myself. And so eventually, I went out of my way and I got Undertale for the Switch. And I didn't really change my mind much. Like, I had a bit more of appreciation for the dialogue, and, you know, the bullet hell sort of gameplay was fun. Like, I couldn't deny the fact that it was fun, but it didn't really convince me. But after watching Andrew's videos, it was kind of that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme of Danny DeVito being like, oh my god, I get it now. And I now have a good bit more respect for Undertale and Deltarune. Mostly Deltarune, I will just kind of say at the end of the day, I feel like Undertale had a point, and it made its point pretty well. But that point didn't involve the most captivating gameplay. And Deltarune fixes that by having the gameplay be more dynamic, even in a pacifist run. And just have it you know, there's just more interactions, more complexity to the bullet hells. You know, the tension gauge is super awesome. Like, they really just kind of addressed the biggest problem that I had with Undertale, which is that it was kind of mechanically poor. It was story-rich, but a little mechanically poor. And so Deltarune fixes that by not only introducing more gameplay variety, but just deepening the gameplay system a whole bunch. And so now, like, I'm still not, you know, I would never consider myself a part of the Undertale fandom, but I am now a happy little passive observer to the outside. And am very much looking forward to, you know, 10 years from now when Chapter 3 eventually comes out. Just like Silksong. But that is a cope for another day. I will spare my invisible audience, my ranting and ravings about how Silksong is yet to come out, because, oh boy. What a game. What a game. We love, good old accidental. Bunch! You know, I should probably be walking through the fire. We are on a time limit after all. I need to stop playing a little... need to play a little bit more aggressively. Come on, guy. Nope, and this is why you... this is why I don't play aggressively. You do stupid stuff like that. Get yourself killed. Come on, juice bar. Give me some juice. It's definitely, it's just sort of another quirk of the game. I wouldn't even consider it like a complaint or a downside, but there definitely are kind of lulls when you're bad. Like when you're just straight up bad at the game. Because when you're zooming, everything just kind of works. Like you're using swap juice to get more points. To get more swap juice, and like you're constantly swapping and you're doing cool stuff. But when you suck, you're having to use a swap juice defensively. And then you can't really make much use out of it. Oh, I think with that we're gonna call it here. So, to my invisible audience, thank you and good night.